the last official press conference at E3 was Nintendo's. Now, Nintendo's press conference didn't exactly wow me, but we'll get more into that as we move on. The conference started off with Miyamoto's segment. Now, Miyamoto is one of those guys that you've got to respect, pretty much no matter what platform or type of gamer you are. He is the father of gaming as we know it today. So it's always a treat to actually have him on stage or in an interview or something like that. No matter how bad the game, like in previous year, like the Wii Music or anything else, he makes he puts his heart and soul in actually presenting it. He promoted the new Pikmin 3 game for the Wii U. Now, the previous Pikmin games, I confess, have never really played, though the concept and everything else is pretty well known to me. It's an intriguing game, and definitely well worth HD improvements. You can just tell from the look and feel of them, even from the leap from the GameCube to the Wii, when they were in the Smash Brothers game, that it would definitely look good with a higher res, and it doesn't disappoint. It looks very entertaining. The gameplay looks very thought-provoking. You have to be kind of smart in how you deal with stuff, and the functionality with the Wii U gamepad was what you would kind of expect. It held a map and it indicated where your little Pikmin were throughout the area. So that's definitely one to. There wasn't a whole lot of information into it. There wasn't a whole lot to go off of within the short little gameplay demo that they did, but it was actually gameplay footage. So major props there, and it's definitely one that I will be checking out as hopefully as E3 progresses and as soon or as we near the launch date of the Wii U. The next segment of the conference, Reggie came up and did the normal spiel about the Nintendo and Wii U, basically going over a lot of what we heard from Iwata from his pre-E3 video that he did. Then he went into Super Mario Wii U, and this was something that we all knew was going to come. It's in the 2D style Mario game, and I kind of like having one 2D Mario and one 3D Mario for each system cycle. So it's good to see this 2D format. It definitely has that old school Mario feel to it. With updated graphics and everything else like that. A couple of big things with it, though, is not only is it multiplayer, but it is up to 5 players multiplayer, so that will make it quite interesting. A lot of your common power-ups seem to be present, along with the use of several Yoshis. So yeah, this one's definitely a must-buy. Pretty much, if you're gonna get the system, you're gonna pretty much get this one. Maybe it's probably gonna be bundled or whatever, hopefully with it. But so that was a pretty nice little demo. Now the next game that they did was Batman Arkham City, and I knew that this was going to be talked about at the show. I was hoping it didn't get a whole lot of stage time, and it sort of did. My big kind of complaint with the game is that, yeah, we all knew that there wasn't really going to be a huge leap in graphics and as far as the game goes, there wasn't going to be a whole lot of changes. Some of the changes that we kind of expected, like the items being able to be changed and such from your Wii Pad instead of having to hit the start and all that stuff. Some of the other things like the bios and such, it doesn't really make a whole lot of yeah, it's a little bit of an ease of access type of a thing, but really, if you're gonna spend time reading that, you're gonna pause the game anyways, so you don't really get a huge amount of benefit there. And some other things that they're adding to the game, such as a power attack that gets charged up as your, I guess, as your combos connect or whatever. It's basically just way too much like the same game to really make it worth really paying too much attention to it. Now, if you haven't played the game before, then by all means, this is probably going to be the best way to play the game, no doubt. But if you have played the game, I can't see where the draw is going to be all that big. They didn't really say for sure, but from a lot of the gameplay and screen captures that they did, it does look like that Harley's DLC is going to be included in the game. They did not say, at the press conference at least, if all the other DLC is going to be included or not. Now, if this game was $40, $50 game with all the DLCs and with Harley's DLC, including Harley's DLC, then this would be a pretty good, decent buy, seeing as how all those DLCs combined with the Harley expansion, you're not looking at too much of a price difference. So I could see where it would be not a bad thing to do in that circumstance. But other than that, if you've already played it before, if you already own it for another system, then really it's not that big of a deal, I would think. The next game, which was also presented by Warner Brothers Games, was Scribblenauts, a console version of what has been introduced to the DS, possibly the 3DS. I don't really know offhand. And what this is kind of like a creative 2D-esque adventure game. The gameplay footage didn't exactly help explain what the heck is going on. It did show that you could create your own sprites, 2D sprites, and use them in the game. It didn't say if the sprites were kind of like a free-for-all thing, or if you had choices of options that you had to kind of put together, or don't really know how that all goes, and it didn't really explain how everything interacts, or why or how it interacts with the rest of the game. I guess if you played the handheld version, then it would all make sense, and I'm sure it's gotten some pretty high praise. So it's a very novel idea. Just if you haven't played it, then it might be kind of confusing about how it's all going to work and function. Next up, we got a montage of games that will be coming out. It's just kind of a disappointment, since most of them we kind of already knew, but we just didn't know how the gamepad was going to be integrated into it. It could very well be something that we will find out later on during the E3 show or whatever. A couple of mentions within the group. Mass Effect 3 seems really odd since Nintendo hasn't had Mass Effect 1 or 2. So I'm kind of confused why they think that's going to necessarily be a big hit. And the other one, Tank, was another one that seemed kind of interesting to me. It looked like it was multiplayer through the Nintendo network, and you were kind of working together for some objectives. Now, in all the gameplay that they showed, the tanks were kind of bunched together. I would kind of like to see some more gameplay in which to see if this is kind of like a I don't know, a Scorched Earth clone or something. Would be kind of cool. But that's definitely one that I want to check out some more information on. And the last one out of that group was Trine 2, the director's cut. Now, I haven't played the first one or the second one, though they both look like gorgeous games on the PS3. The gameplay is very strategic. I think it is multiplayer as well, or co-op. So that hopefully that will get carried over as well. But definitely a title worth getting as well. Now, I'm kind of worried about if that's going to be a full price or not. I'm not sure. I remember that not being really that much of a full price game before. I could be wrong, but we'll see. So after the montage, we got the new Wii Fit U game. After Reggie touted the success of the Wii Fit board, or the whatever, the balance board. The new game does exactly what you would expect. It has more mini games and workout stuff, and some tracking units as far as losses of calories and stuff like that. You know, it's if you already own a board and own the Wii Fit game already, then this is just an addition to that peripheral, which is actually kind of nice that Nintendo is still making new games for their older peripheral devices instead of coming out with a Wii U balance board or whatever. So that's kind of cool. The next game, if you want to call it that, they demoed was called Sing. This is odd. It seemed like it was just a karaoke machine, which, you know, will do pretty well in Japan, I would imagine. But it just didn't seem all that great, at least to the North American folks here. Basically, your gamepad had the words and someone was singing. Now, what I would be interested in knowing a little bit more about was they had a microphone. Are they singing into the game? If you know, how does that necessarily work? But so you have that, and then we went into a short little 3DS section of the conference. There's going to be another conference later that is dedicated to just 3DS, and I'll be making a video based off of that as well. So, but they did throw in 3 games about the 3DS. They did mention during the press conference Super Mario Brothers 2, which looks a lot like the 2D side-scrolling of old, and it looks like it's more like Super Mario Brothers 3 for the NES. With a somewhat odd fixation for gold. Okay. Paper Mario, which really, it didn't look like the older Paper Mario games. Now, I have no doubt in the world that 3D will come in big for this game, the 3D effects, so it's kind of unfair to judge it based off of just the 2D images that they showed alone, but I can tell that from the console and previous versions of the Paper Mario, it just looks like the same feel isn't present. But, you know, who knows? It was a pretty short segment, and there could be a lot more to it than what they showed. Then the last one for 3DS was Luigi's Mansion 2. And this looked just like the original. You know, so if you liked that and liked the gameplay of that, then you'll like this one. I'm also curious how the 3D is going to work a bit on this as well. So we have that. Then the next big title that they announced was Legoland, which is kind of like your previously known Lego games, but in a big open world, sort of. Now, the stream cut out shortly after, or my stream cut out shortly after after they introduced the game, so I don't really have a whole lot of footage for it. I will get more footage from it later on in E3. I'm sure there's going to be some more on it, but definitely this game looks awesome, and I will be reporting some more information on that as well. The next game that they had was Just Dance, which really, to be honest, especially without the balance board, the dance games for the Wii and the Wii U just don't make much sense to me, because, you know, you're only making hands movements and not your whole body, but whatever. I don't think this is basically your hardcore dance game fanatics will be getting this for the other systems, be it Kinect or Move or whatever, but so I guess if you liked the previous dance games for the Wii, then this will be pretty much the same thing. The gamepad interaction, or the gamepad use for the game didn't really seem all that important. But hey, then the Ubisoft came up, or Ubisoft Genesis was Ubisoft's game, but Ubisoft continued with Zombie U. And we actually got to see gameplay footage this time. And what I can say is that there are some neat elements to the game. The use of the gamepad is really quite interesting to me on how all of that works. I really, and this goes for a lot of the other games, I really have a bit of an issue with shaking a supposedly rather expensive controller all around, but you know, whatever. I'm sure they'll make a wrist strap for it later. But the game, the graphics are better than what we had for the Wii, but I didn't really see the graphics being a huge improvement over what we've seen with the 360 and PS3. As far as the gameplay goes, yeah, there are a ton of neat elements with the pad, like that it was shown. Just the game seems absorbently gory, which, again, I know that's what they were going for. I just question why that they would necessarily. Oh, question why. I know why they did it. It just seems kind of out of place. You know, gore for gore's sake, and that's just not fun to me. But anyway, the last big game that they showed during the conference, and this was kind of their big show and tell game for the conference, was Nintendo Land. Now, they didn't exactly talk a whole lot about it. They talked about some of the mini games, and basically it seems to be the packaged professional deal of what was shown for the tech demos last year at E3. But a couple of things that seemed very interesting is that it seemed to be a vibrant world that you would walk around in, and that it can be continually updated with new mini games and stuff like that. They also hinted that it is not just a Nintendo thing, but it can be open to other companies or third-party developers to create their own lands. I don't know if they have the permission to add to Nintendo Land, but they can create their own side parks, if you will, with their own mini game selections and demos and stuff like that. Now, this actually is quite interesting on many levels. Not only is it an ever-growing party game, which hopefully this will reduce the amount of party games released by Nintendo, but It's also a good way for demos to work, or functionality demos, like hey, we want, or to kind of show off how you would control Metroid with the Wii U pad, or the Star Fox with the Wii U pad, or whatever. It seems like it could have some potential. It's not really graphically intense. The world is, so there shouldn't be a whole lot of problems with the actual data transfer and stuff. Lag and everything else may come into play, at least initially, but it's definitely something that I will be reporting more on. I'm sure more details about it are going to be released in E3, so I definitely will go over a whole lot more of that later on in the week. And that pretty much wraps up Nintendo's press conference. Now, what really disappointed me from the conference is ever since last year's E3, everyone, especially Nintendo, has really been touting that this is a next-gen console, that the performance is better than the graphics and everything else is better than what's on the 360 and PS3, and they didn't show any of it in the conference. They didn't really show anything that couldn't be on the other consoles. Now, I'm not saying that it can't. They haven't at this point released any hardware or anything that I know of, so or talked about any of the hardware specs or anything else like that. So it could very well be from a hardware stance, it could still be better, but he just didn't show it, and that's somewhat problematic in my mind, that they didn't push that. Now, I'm not expecting an HD Zelda. I don't want an HD Zelda for a few years at least. So I'm not looking for necessarily Nintendo's games in HD, though some might not be too bad, but at least give a montage of third party or whatever that actually make it prove that it looks better than some of the other games for the systems. So that was really my my main gripe. Stay tuned. I'll have one more video based off of press conferences where I kind of wrap things up, and then expect a ton of videos to sprinkle after that, about more information about some of the games that will be talked about at E3. So, thanks for watching. God bless.